Hey guys, Wolfe Survival. Today we're going to talk about the one thing that when you're in a survival situation, you can't do without. When it comes to survival, water is an essential part of everything you do. The average person can only go about 3 days without water before they body starts to break down and they start to feel the effects even after 24 hours. It used to be, up until about 100 years ago in North America, if you came across a creek like this, you'd probably be safe to just dip your canteen in and take a drink. But these days, with giardia and cryptosporidium, heavy chemicals, and a lot of the pollutants in the water, you have to purify your water almost every single time. When it comes to purifying water, there's a couple of tried and true measures that you can use. The first one being boiling your water. For probably thousands of years, people have boiled their water. Once you get the water to a rolling boil, it takes out most of the contaminants that you found inside the water. However, boiling your water means that you have to have access to another thing, and that's fire. Now, if you're in a location where you don't have access to fire, you can't make a fire, or for whatever reason, maybe you don't have the time to make a fire, then you have to look at other means. So there's a couple of different things that you can use depending again on what situation you find yourself in. If you're in a situation where you're on the move constantly and you don't have time to stop and boil it, there's a couple of off-the-shelf things that you can use. One that we use in the military a lot is these chlorine dioxide tablets. These things, you basically, when you fill up your canteen or whatever, you throw them in there, you let them sit for the prescribed amount of time, and then it'll purify your water for you. Besides these tablets as well, if you've got, this is something more in the urban environment or at home, but you can take a jug of regular of Clorox bleach, and there's if you look at how to dilute it properly, you can use that to purify your water as well. But some of the easy ones that I really like, the ones I've been using for a long time, is what we call a purifying straw. Right here I've got the Sawyer Mini, which is really, really popular, and I've used this overseas many times. I've used this in places like Africa and Afghanistan. The reason why it's so effective and why it's so awesome is because you can see the size. It's very small, and it's just because of this size, this thing it actually filters down to 0.01 micron, and you're able to use this for many uses. And this thing pretty much is very simple. It's even got a straw where you can just sit it in the water. And you just drink your water right out of there, and then it's purified. The one thing with the Sawyer Mini you want to remember is that you're supposed to back flush it, so once you're done drinking, you don't want contaminated water to get in there, you want to blow it out. And that essentially clears it. Another thing you can use, if you've got a little bit more time, something that a little bit bigger, a little bit more robust than the Sawyer Mini, but that's what's using what we call a hand pump. This here I've got is this is a Catadyn, Hiker Pro. I've had this thing for forever, and I've used it on many expeditions, hiking events, going out around places, and it's worked very, very well for me for many years. This is the same exact function as the Sawyer, except this is in a little bit bigger version, and you can use this to fill up, say, a canteen or something like that, versus just sipping like you would the Sawyer Mini. So you can see once you have the Catadyn set up, one end actually fits right into a Nalgene bottle. You can really just set that down, and then you've got your basically your hand pump, and then your other end is the part that goes in the water, and it's got a float on it. Now typically, this isn't a bad spot, but I typically like to get the water where there's moving water, but it's kind of loud over there, so I'll just do it right here for you. You basically just set that end in, and you can start pumping. Try to keep it off the bottom or keep it away from other contaminants. And all this is doing now, you can hear it, it's actually just pumping water into my Nalgene bottle. There you can see, just as easy as that. While the previous methods work really well when you're just by yourself, you may find that there comes a time when you're in a group or you're doing something like overlanding and you have to have a larger capacity water with you. Say if you're going across, you know, say a foreign country or something like that. And in that case, you maybe want to move up to something a little bit more robust, like this jerry can water filter right here. There's a number of these on the market that are available. I chose this one. I believe this one is it's made by Blue or something like that, it's called, and it just had some of the best reviews. And really simply, all it is, it's a jerry can that's pressurized. You have a hand pump here, you fill it up with your water, pump it up a little bit. This is essentially you're pumping water through the filter, then you open up your valve like so, and here you go, you got purified water coming out. This type of contraption here is also good for, again, like I was saying, large capacity. You can cook, clean, you know, if you want to. They have a shower nozzle. You can try to bathe this thing, but it really gives you a lot more flexibility when it comes to purifying water. Now, there's also, if you have, these are very like commercial off-the-shelf things that you can do besides boiling, and there's also basically homemade ways or nature primitive ways you can filter water as well. One of those is through the use of something like a multi-layered charcoal filter, which I don't have an example here, but I'll put up a picture right now so you can see it. And essentially what you have here is you have multiple layers of dirt and gravel or stone, and then charcoal, and then as water goes through, it filters it to the bottom. The other thing I would bring up too is that ultimately in a survival situation, you have to think about you know, what's the most important thing. I will tell you this, there's been times where I went to I knew a stream was a glacier fed water, and I just went and drank out of it. And I'm of the belief that if it comes down to me dying of dehydration within a few days, or, you know, taking my chances on getting something like cryptosporidium or something like that that may kill me weeks down the road, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find the best source of water I can and try to drink from it to avoid dehydration. So there you go, guys. That's kind of some of the basics on water. There's a lot more we can get into. Please, like I said, subscribe, and I would love to hear your comments and opinions. Leave me some comments down below on you know, things you thought on this, or maybe some ideas and ways that you've filtered water in the past. And I would love to see and hear from you guys what you want to hear for future videos. Take care. We'll see you next time.